Hello, hello. Let's see if we can get this stream up. I think we're still waiting to see it show up on YouTube here. Oh, there we go. All right. We are now live. Hello, hello. How is everyone doing today? So we've got definitely a fun one. Definitely going to be a fun one for today. I've got, are you ready for this, folks? I've got a dual camera setup here. Look at this. Now you see me. Now you see today's patient. This is what we are going to be working on today. Now, if you missed my my second most recent video. My most recent one was where we talked about Apple Silicon. The one before that was where I unboxed over 100 pounds of vintage Apple gear. Now, I've got another video, like a legitimately produced video, not a live stream, that's done and waiting sponsor approval and also waiting out this Apple event. And that's going to go live hopefully next weekend, I'm thinking. So we'll see about that. Hang on a second. Okay, whatever. So that video is going to come out hopefully next weekend, depending on how busy the Apple event leaves me afterwards. But what we've got for today, there's a couple days till the Apple event. It's in that weird waiting spot where if I do anything, talk about anything current, it's going to be outdated in a couple of days. So what we're going to do is just have a little bit of fun, all right? We're going to repair this 2008, early 2008 15-inch MacBook Pro. This was one of the products, really the newest thing that we unboxed with that Apple, that large Apple unboxing earlier. I guess it was last week because today is Sunday. So this MacBook Pro is, we don't really know a whole lot about it just because, well, it doesn't have a hard drive. So we cannot boot it up just yet. So this is the original unibody MacBook Pro. I'm betting that some people in the chat were surprised to see me take off this little hatch because this model of MacBook is not super well known. So this is the 2008 15-inch MacBook Pro. This is the first unibody MacBook Pro that ever existed. And apart from that little hatch on the bottom, it should look quite familiar to you. So if we go ahead and open it up here, on the inside, really nothing has changed for the remainder of the unibody MacBook Pros. But this is where it started, and there were a couple of things that set this apart from the later models. This one's late 2008. The early 2008 MacBook Pro was actually the pre-unibody type. You ready? Let's do this split screen here so that you can see me and the laptop. How about that? Woo! Anyway, this is the first unibody MacBook Pro, late 2008, and if you have a 2009 MacBook Pro, then this is actually very, very similar to that. So the specs did not change in 2008 and 2009. There are actually three distinct models. There's this late 2008, then there was an early 2009, and then a mid-2009. The early and the mid-2009s are basically identical, but the only difference here is if we look over on the side, you'll notice there's no SD card. We have a compact flash slot here. So that's different. And then obviously, as we saw earlier, the battery and hard drive hatch on the bottom, which I have to say I really like. Just being able to pop the battery out that easily is so nice. You can see it has these little pads down here, so there's not even a screw holding this battery in. It's super easy to basically hot swap batteries. Hard drives are pretty easy to replace as well. It does get a little bit more complicated once we actually have to get inside this thing, because what we're going to be doing today is basically just the full three-part vintage MacBook upgrade path. So what we're going to be doing, let's switch over and bring this up into full screen. Here's the MacBook. We are going to be putting in this 120 gigabyte SSD. I also got some ambitiously well-packaged RAM. I say ambitiously because, 8 gigabytes of 1066 megahertz DDR3 doesn't really need to be packaged in such a show-offy type of a container here, but we've got 8 gigabytes of RAM, which is the most that this thing can support. And then we're also going to do a simple repaste on the thermal paste. So this is going to be doing the full works. We're going to take the board out, replace the thermal paste. That's going to be the most time-consuming part of this repair. And to be quite honest, you don't need to do the thermal paste. The way that Apple picks their thermal paste, it's basically it's meant to last a long time. It's not the best stuff out there, but realistically, it's not going to make a huge difference when we do apply new thermal paste. I think the biggest difference that we'll make in doing that is we'll have a chance to assess and resolve whatever dust situation is inside this, because it's a 12-year-old MacBook. It could be pretty dusty inside. We don't know yet, but we're gonna find out. So why don't we go ahead and I guess we could start the teardown. Now for this repair, I'm going to be using, let me switch over here. Oh, I missed the button. Didn't click it. All right. This is the iFixit Protect Toolkit. This is what I use for all of my repairs. I've got all the parts that I'm using today linked in the description, so they should show up. If you've been waiting for a while, you might have to refresh, but they should show up there. We've got the Protect Toolkit with all of the driver bits. I also am using the little tweezers and a spudger. These help me with some of the connectors. So that's really what we're going to be doing, and then I'm just going to sort the screws in the lid for the toolkit, which has these little compartments. I'm not sure if they're intended to be used for sorting screws or not, but that is what I like to do, and that's basically it. Now this computer should be primarily Phillips head screws because they switched over to the T5, T6 star screws, and I think they did that in 2009. So I guess without any further ado, we could go ahead and get started here. Now, it might be a little tricky. I'm going to probably be doing most of this repair upside down because I want you guys to be able to see. So let's just go ahead and, the first thing, obviously, we have to lose this bottom hatch, which actually, as you can see, has a little diagram on how to replace the battery and how to replace the hard drive, which is kind of funny. So we'll get rid of that temporarily. Obviously, we can dispense with the battery. We're not going to need that until the repair is done. A little bit of dust and, let's see if we can get that on camera here. A little bit of grime on this battery, so we can just wipe that off real quick. Nice aluminum construction battery, though. Not a huge battery. As you can see, it's pretty thin, but it does hold a charge. I was able to get this thing to charge a little bit, so that's good. All right, so the next thing that we need to do is pull off the rest of this case. Now, I apologize, but I am going to have to turn this towards me so I can actually see. Believe these should be Phillips head screws. Alrighty, so they should be just a couple. Now, I'll bring over my little tray here, and I'm just going to sort these in order of size. Actually, first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this mounting bracket for the hard drive. Well, we won't need this yet. So this one just has a screw that I'm going to leave in it. Whenever you have parts like these, I like to just keep the screws with them because that way you know exactly where they go. Set that off to the side. Alrighty. Now let's continue and we'll just tackle the rest of this bottom case. So undoubtedly, for replacing hard drives, for replacing batteries, this is a much better system than the later, than pretty much every other MacBook that has had a single bottom plate. However, when it comes to more in-depth repairs, like what we're going to be doing, even just a RAM replacement, you do have some extra steps. Now these screws should be, yeah, these are pretty much the same screws that you'll find in every other unibody MacBook Pro. Because remember, most unibody MacBook Pros have these 3 long boys over here, and then they'll usually have, 7 of these short screws, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that's for most unibodies, but not this one. This will be the first time that I've actually worked on one of these. Oh, this is actually a longer screw. I thought that this was going to be a short little fella, but it's not. All right, so we'll just grab all of those, and we'll put that in our little corner over here for the lower case. Now we should be good to lift this up. There's probably clips holding it down, if I had to guess. Yep. And is there a clip at the back? Potentially, or it was just stuck. Let's turn it over here. So yeah, there's 2 clips over on the side. Here's the latch mechanism, which comes out with the bottom case. And we've definitely got some dust inside this machine. Nothing terrible. Like, it looks pretty good, but you can definitely see if I wipe over here, got some definite dust going on. So we'll just go ahead and wipe that down a little bit here. The microfiber cloth. Use our brush in some of these vents. Now this computer is in very, honestly, pretty good condition. It's gonna need some cleaning, but we will do that at the very end after we've done all of the other repairs. So this should take care of the bottom case. We can now set that off to the side. And now we've got a really good look at the guts of this thing. So the big difference between when you take the bottom off on one of these MacBooks versus the newer ones is we have this little mid wall down here. This is not something that you will find on other unibody MacBooks, obviously, because this one has that rather unique locking mechanism. So we are going to have to take this out. Now, I don't remember exactly where all the screws are for such an operation. It looks like, I think these black screws along the top are the ones. We've got some magnets down here. You can see my screwdriver sticking to those. So I believe we have 1, 2, 3 of these longer screws. And then it looks like these 2 silver screws down here as well. So that should be all we need to get this mid-wall out. Okay. So this is a fairly long screw, as you can see. Yeah, for people that are asking, it's a 2008 15-inch. It's the original unibody MacBook Pro. Most unibodies are pretty straightforward. There's not a ton of stuff that can actually trip you up. Although, I have to say, in my opinion, Retina MacBooks are easier to work on than these unibodies. Oh, screw came out and stuck to the magnet. So we've got these 3 long screws and then 2 shorter screws. We'll just go ahead and put those in our next compartment here. And now that should, yeah, look at that. So this is that locking mechanism. You can see it's just a very long piece of aluminum. Really, not a whole lot to it. So we can set that up. It's also a magic wand, which is nice. So you can cast spells with it. That's lovely. All right, we'll set that off to the side there. Now, as far as what else is different in here, I'm trying to see. Looks like we've got some VRAM chips over here. This should be the underside of our GPU. Our CPU should be up here, I think. Same dual fan, basically the same shaped logic board that you'll see on all the other 15-inch unibody MacBook Pros. But some of these connectors, what is this, the hard drive connector? So we should have, I'm trying to remember what all of these are. Okay, we have keyboard. This should be the backlight. This should be speaker. That's a display. 2 fan connectors. This is like the camera and antenna. You can see that kind of going up into the hinge here. This is for the optical drive. This should be the other speaker, I think. The what is it? The right side speaker. This should be the hard drive. This should be the trackpad. Maybe this little one down here is either the microphone or the keyboard backlight. And then there's a battery connector, and I'm not sure what this one is. That's the only one that I don't know. But that's fine. We're going to go ahead and start. I like to start with the connectors. So we're going to start with that. Now, I apologize if I'm not keeping up with chat. This video will be up on the channel after the fact, by the way. So I'm hoping to have this basically be here as like an educational guide on how to do one of these in real time. So I probably won't be interacting with the chat too much, but I will try to get to you guys if I can keep up here on the StreamYard. So I like to start by disconnecting the connectors. Let's see how much RAM we have actually. So 1 gigabyte. Wow, so this has 2 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM. So it's definitely going to make a big difference when we bump that up to 8. That'll be very nice for this computer. Now, full disclosure, I didn't want to make you guys sit through the OS installation, so I have already set up the SSD for today with the patched Catalina. So we will be able to boot this thing right up without having to wait. Assuming, of course, that I don't destroy this computer, because, you know, whenever you do something live, even if you've done it 1,000 times, sometimes you just, you know, destroy a piece of technology. So hopefully we won't do that today. Let's pull out the LVDS connector for the display. Deal with that one there. Let's just go ahead and look at the dust on the antenna cable here. That's a mess. I'll just do a surface level brushing. You can already see the dust coming off on my little brush over there. You can see we've got some decent sized dust bunnies over here on some of these voltage regulators. Look at all this. Look at the dust coming off of my brush here. That is substantial. Substantial dust action here. The fan, you can already tell. Once we get these fans out, we'll clean those a little bit more thoroughly. So let's go ahead and this connector looks like it comes straight off. It does. Excellent. Most of these connectors come straight off. There are a couple of ZIF connectors. So I don't know what ZIF stands for. I'm blanking on it right now. But essentially, they are like these small little ribbons. You can kind of see here. I can manipulate this better with my tweezers. We have like this small little ribbon cable. This particular one is the keyboard. And they go in, and then there's like a little flap that closes. These things can be really, really irritating to close, especially this teeny tiny one that you probably can't even see on the stream because I don't think the resolution is enough to show it. But there's this absolutely minuscule, tiny little cable here. Yeah, you can probably see that reflecting the gold pins there. These things are a pain in the ass. The other annoying thing with these unibodies is you do have to be really conscious of all of these cables. You don't want them to get trapped underneath the board when you go to put it back in. So we're going to have to be very careful of that. All right, so we're just going to keep our Phillips head bit here. This one is a 00. I'm sure that some of these are slightly different sizes, but pretty much most of these repairs, most of the disassembly for this MacBook, we're going to be able to do with a Phillips head, which is very nice. So we'll pull out the fans, and we'll take a look at how much dust is underneath the fans, because that'll give us an idea of how much we can free up the cooling. From this side, you can probably see the blades of this fan look a little bit caked up. This one's not too bad. Yes, I love a magnetic screwdriver tip. Those are the best. Okie dokie. For whatever reason, my StreamYard chat is not keeping up. It keeps getting stuck behind, and I don't know why. I just want to see your guys' comments. It's that simple. Okay. So, fans are now loose. Ooh, we got some dust bunnies. I love to see that. Oh, wow. All right, we got some big dust bunnies here. Take a look at these. Woo! That's a big boy. These right here, this is like, you know how when you run the dryer, you gotta clean off that sheet that collects all the lint? That's basically what these heat sinks have been doing for 12 years, right? So these things are gonna block a lot of airflow. And you can see these are not large, not particularly large heat sinks here. So if you block, like usually they build up around either end. So this one looks like it built up around this much. And then on the other side, we've got there's also some static dust in there right now, but you're already blocking off about a quarter of this heatsink. And then on this side, it was over here is like another quarter of the heatsink that's getting blocked. So this is going to make a ton of difference in terms of airflow. And you can see already the dust coming off. This one's a lot worse. You might even be able to see the little plumes of dust shooting up in the air. This is going to make a huge difference for this computer. Absolutely huge difference. Alrighty. Now, you can also see down here these little circles of dust. Those are, you know, that's underneath where the fan blades go. If we turn this upside down, you can see that dust kind of builds up in this footprint down here. So we can go ahead and clean those off. Now it looks a lot better. All right, we got 972 people watching right now on YouTube. Not sure how many people are on Twitch because I've run out of screens and tabs here. Someone over on Twitch chat just pointed out, very true, cleaning off dust from the inside of a computer is so satisfying. Absolutely. It makes it feel like such a big difference. So we've now cleaned up this fan here. Actually, it looks like there's still a little bit of dust on it. Okay. Look at that. Much better. All right. Next fan. Oh yeah, look at you can kind of see, I have this blue brush and you can see when the ends get all gray, that's how you know you've really got the dust in your sights. All right, so with the fans now clear, we are good to move on to the rest of this computer. So we've dealt with a lot of the dust, but I'm sure once we get this board out on the underside of it, you can kind of see, even just on a cursory level, look at the dust that has just come out when I did that. So there's already going to be a lot more dust, I think. Take a look at my microfiber cloth where I've been wiping the brush. Good bit of dust on that. Shake that out. Just whack it on the table there. Okay, so let's move on. We're going to need our Phillips head screwdriver, and we are now going to go around the board. I usually like to start down here and go counterclockwise. It doesn't really matter, but just kind of ensures that you get all the screws out. And let me just see. I don't remember if some of these are going to be different lengths. I know that for the fans, these two were different lengths, but I'm not sure. Not really sure about any of the other ones. Sorry, just going through the chat here. So, yeah, all right. I'm just going to keep track of the order that I put them in. Now, realistically, if I wanted to do this properly, I would probably get a magnetic mat and label where all the screws are coming from, especially if you're doing a somewhat more in-depth repair. But if I'm being honest, guys, I've done repairs like this so much that I basically know which screws go where just by memory. And this computer really isn't a whole lot different from most of the other unibodies that you'd be working with. So, also, so far, I'm pretty sure all of these screws are the same length, so it doesn't really matter. Alrighty. And this should be our final screw on the logic board. Yeah, these are all the same length. Well, that definitely simplifies things. That means we don't really have to keep... Actually, no, that one... All right, this one over here was longer. That's the only one, to my eye at least, that was any different. So I will make sure to put that one in its own little compartment. Then we also have to pull out these two screws. These are definitely going to be longer. You can already tell. Those are definitely bigger. So keep track of those. And then, wait a minute. I've noticed this over here. This is the clip for the lower case. And we're going to need to make sure that we remove that. That should just come right out. Yeah, let me grab my tweezers. Ooh. There we go. So there's this little bracket. Got to remember about that. Because that's on top of the ports here. So that set off to its side here. Now let's just test, see how loose we are. All right, yeah. Now the thing that sometimes happens with unibody MacBooks particularly is with these old ones, sometimes the heat pipes, which have a sticker on them, will melt to the static shielding on the lower side of the keyboard. So it can feel like you've forgotten a screw, but in fact it's just stuck. The other thing that happens sometimes is, mainly on the 13-inch ones, the microphone, which is held in with adhesive, can get stuck. And you do have to be careful because sometimes you could pull the wires right out of the microphone and basically ruin it forever. Well, actually not forever because it's detachable, but you'd have to get another one. Okay, now I can... Oh, I've missed a connector. Haha, see? This one right here. What is that? Probably this one, this one might be the backlight. I think it is connected to this little wiring here. So there are a couple of connectors that I don't know what they are because I didn't do my research before I went live. But that's all right, because as long as we do it properly, it shouldn't matter. Now always take your time when pulling out a logic board. You don't want to rip anything, you don't want to pull anything out. The battery connector for this one is underneath, I believe. I don't remember if it's a vertical socket or a horizontal socket. So I'm going to try to loosen up the board before we pull it out. Okay, yeah, see that? There was if you heard that little unsticking sound, that was the sound of the heatsink unsticking from the underside of the keyboard shielding. Now, it does feel like I've got something else under here. So this connector, I cannot tell if this is a vertical, like if it pulls straight down or if it pulls towards me. That I do not know. Let me check. So I believe once we pull it out, because I know the battery connectors, this is not a problem that you'll have on any of the other. I think it's a straight out connector. That's my guess. We should be able to get enough clearance here that we can see it. So there we are, rotating the board up. And it is a straight out. So fortunately we do have enough clearance here that we can completely rotate out the board and deal with this. So that's convenient. That means we don't have to... Oh man, that's a bit of a tough connector here. I can't get a good angle on it. There it is. All right. So did you guys see that? It comes straight out. there we go. We've got the board free. I'm going to set that off to the side, and we'll just take a moment here to assess the internals. So you can see a couple of spots where some of the adhesive broke down. There's a little bit of a residue over here on the speaker grill, and you can kind of see, if I point it out, so here's the outline for the speaker, and then down here, this little circle is where the microphone was stuck. So fortunately, we did not, there's a little bit of adhesive residue here, but we didn't have any damaging stuff happen. So that's really good. You can see, as suspected, this little ZIF connector was for the backlight. You can see these are the wirings for that. And there's a little bit of residue. It's probably not even showing up right down in the middle from where the heatsink got a little bit stuck to this shielding. But fortunately, the shielding is intact. So that is excellent. Just clean out some of the surface dust. This is mainly just aesthetic. None of this dust is really getting in the way of any cooling, but it's nice to not have it, you know what I mean? There we go. Nice and easy. So, now we can set this whole thing off to the side. And we can take a look at our logic board. So here's the angle that we're used to seeing it at. A lot of little dust particles here on this mat. Good grief. And so you can already see from here where the heatsink screws are mounted. So it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If we go ahead and flip it over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yay! Correct. Now, let's see here. What else are we looking at on this side? What else is important to know? All right, well, this speaker assembly, if you ever need to replace this speaker assembly, you can see that it's connected here. This is still in the era where Apple used to use this yellow electrical tape on a lot of their stuff. If you ever open up a pre-unibody MacBook Pro, this tape is absolutely everywhere. Apart from that, there's not really a whole lot that's super exciting. Oh, actually, the only thing that will be different if you are used to working on newer unibody MacBook Pros is you may notice that this heatsink is a little bit longer. What's that all about? You may also notice, you know, if we, let me grab my brush so that maybe you can see this a little better. I'm actually going to zoom in. That's what we'll do. Ah, look at that. Now you guys have a great view of this. So, what is going on under here? Why are there 3 green PCB chips? Can anyone take a guess at what that might be? I'm going to clean this off. Throw in the chat, take a guess. We know that there's obviously a CPU and a GPU, but what is the other chip? Decent amount of dust in here. Let's get some answers in the chat. Get some interaction here. What do you guys think? And there we go. Correct. Nope, that's not it. Chipset. There we go. Now this MacBook has a rather interesting way of doing the graphics. So you may remember that dual graphics is a technology that Apple absolutely loves. Apple loves dual graphics. Every 15-inch MacBook Pro since this one, this was the first one to have dual graphics, but since then, almost all of them, except for a couple of Retinas that only had Intel Iris graphics, almost every Retina MacBook Pro has dual graphics. But here's the thing. Dual graphics since 2010 were possible thanks to Intel integrated graphics, but this is a Core 2 Duo. There are no integrated graphics. So, the way that this system works, someone in the chat pointed out that it's the 9400M and 9600M graphics. That's correct. Dual NVIDIA graphics. But here's how it works. The 9400M graphics, which if you have a 2009 13-inch MacBook Pro, you'll probably recognize that. You'll go, hey, wait, that's the graphics that I have. Does my PC have, or does my MacBook have dedicated graphics? Well, no. Basically, the 9400M is an integrated graphics card, but it's not integrated on the CPU, it's integrated on the chipset. So that's the key difference. So the way that this MacBook handles its dedicated graphics and its dual graphics switching is, and this is good timing because I'm taking off the heatsink. Ooh, hang on a second. Is there a connector on this? Yes. There's a temperature sensor on this heatsink. Okay, there we go. Good thing. That's why you never want to yank anything, because we've got a temperature sensor here. So, what we're looking at is a Core 2 Duo up here. And then we've got our dedicated 9600M graphics with 256 megabytes of dedicated VRAM. Or no, this is actually the chipset. This is our dedicated graphics right here. So you can see, you might be able to see it on stream once I get some of this very, very scant thermal paste off of here. Might be able to see the NVIDIA logo. So this lower chip here is our dedicated graphics, and this middle one is the chipset, and integrated into that chipset is a GeForce 9400M integrated processor. So that is going to share its video memory with the CPU, just like an integrated graphics card would. But this one down here, this NVIDIA chip, has its own dedicated VRAM, which you can see if we turn the board over. There it is. There's our VRAM chips. I believe this one is, is it 256 or 512? I don't remember. But that's dedicated video RAM, whereas I think it is 256. Whereas this chipset graphics is shared with the CPU. So that was a very interesting approach on this first unibody MacBook for handling dedicated graphics and graphics switching. So there we go. Let's get some of this thermal paste out here. Hopefully that was an interesting little history lesson for you guys. Yeah, I mean, honestly, this MacBook should be pretty decent, if I'm honest. Like these graphics, these 15s are not bad. And if you are shopping for one of these older MacBooks, it's very common to see the 2009s. These 2008 models are significantly less common, and they're also less expensive, but they actually have almost the exact same specs as the 2009s. The 9400M plus 9600M combo was on the 2009s as well, so very, very similar. Just gonna clean off the tops of these chips here. So yeah, they might be upside down to you guys. Let me see if I can get you a shot of that. You can see the NVIDIA logo. Yeah, there we go. See right here? NVIDIA logo on that chip, NVIDIA logo on that chip, and then this is our Core 2 Duo. So we got 3 chips down there, which means that this heatsink really does have to go to work to keep all of this stuff cool. So hopefully, I'm hoping that with this dual graphics system, this machine should be pretty decent for, like watching videos, especially because, the display is only 1440 by 900. So let's go ahead and put on our thermal paste. This isn't anything particularly fancy, just Cooler Master high performance thermal compound. It's like $10, $6 for a tube of one of these things. they last a pretty long time. So nothing super duper special. And I know that regardless of how I apply this thermal paste, some people are going to yell at me, so I'm just going to do it. Really don't need a lot on that Intel chip. Look how small the die is. It's absolutely minuscule. Our chipset with NVIDIA graphics, as you might imagine, given that it is doing a dual purpose here, is a somewhat larger chip. And then our dedicated graphics is pretty small as well. This 9600M. I think is it a 9600M GT? I don't remember. We'll find out once we boot it up. All right, I think my tube is actually running out. So we're just going to try to get what of it we can. That should be enough. You don't really need a ton of thermal paste for these small little things. Let's see here. Wow, yeah, look at that. That is the end of my tube. I've just now exhausted this entire tube of thermal paste. So there you go. I guess I'll need to be buying some more of that through through my own link in the description. Now, before we put the heatsink back on, we do need to clean the residue, the old thermal paste, off of it. You can see there's most of it came off on the heatsink. Oh no. All right. Every time I do a dusty repair like this, I gotta vacuum afterwards. So, that's our heatsink. Now the first thing that we're gonna have to do is we'll line this up and let's see if we can do this by hand. Should just be able to pop in the thermal sensor right there. And then we'll set the heatsink down like this. And now when putting a heatsink back on, I always like to go in a as much of a diagonal pattern as possible. Obviously, this is a bit of an atypical shape for a heatsink to be in, but I usually like to go across because you don't want to end up over tightening one specific side. Oop, let me move that down for you guys. Sorry about that. You don't want to over tighten one area, so I like to put them all in just in a very loose, just enough to catch the thread there. And then we'll go back and we'll tighten it. Now, you may notice that these screws are spring-loaded. That's to increase tension, and that also means that we don't need to tighten them all the way down until they stop turning, because then we're putting in too much pressure. So the springs are going to kind of dampen the pressure here and make sure that we're not over-tightening anything. Now, this screw head is actually a little bit too small, so for better leverage, I'm going to switch over to a Phillips 0 head. And then we will go around here, and I'll just tighten them down. And basically, you just want to tighten until you feel a little bit of resistance. You don't want to really get them too tight. As I mentioned earlier, we've got springs to help us with that, so you don't need to really crank these things. There we go. There we go, that one's good. That one's good. That one's good. And there we are. Just like that, we've now cleaned and repasted the board. It's looking a lot better. You can see here we don't have a ton of surface level dust. I mean, there's a little bit of it left, but not really a big deal. So with that done, we can now go ahead and start the process of reassembling our MacBook. So I'll zoom out here. And we can set this off to the side for a little bit. Bring back our chassis. And now this is arguably the most, not difficult, but frustrating part, because we have to put this in correctly while also tracking all of the different connectors. Now you may see on camera here, we've got these 3 little standoffs here. Remember, that's where the bottom case clip mounted to, and so that's going to slot in between the ports here. So we got to fit those in there nicely, nice and good there. Now, this is usually where I'll grab a spudger and sort of free all of the cables, but the first thing that we actually need to do is plug the battery back in, because that one is underneath the board. I'm actually just going to remove it, and we'll just basically do it the same way as we did before. There we go. Rotate this around here. Yeah, this part is always annoying, and it's always frustrating when you put a computer back together and then you realize that you forgot a connector, and then you have to go back. Okay. Alrighty, let's get that settled in. Perfect. All right, starting to come together. Here's this connector. This connector is above. This connector is above. This connector is above. This connector. Now we'll go over here. There's a tiny, tiny little ZIF connector down here. ZIF connectors are pretty easy to get untrapped because they, they're small little ribbons. But these, like the optical drive connector here, the speaker one, if you trap one of those are a real pain to have to work with. Oh my gosh. All right. It's like a dance to get these in right. I don't think we're quite seated properly. Okay. Aha, see that? This little cable down here keeps falling beneath. Oh, there we go. Got it. Grab the ZIF. All right. I think we're down. We have landing. Okay. So now we're just going to go around and do roll call, basically, for all of these different connectors to make sure that we haven't missed anything. So we've got this one lines up, this one lines up, this one lines up. We got this guy, we got this guy, we got this guy. Yep, 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 yep. And then these 2 empty sockets are where the fan is going to go in a little bit. So we are now ready to begin reassembly. So we'll grab our Phillips head, and I'm going to start up here with the MagSafe. And then as I go around and screw in the board, I'm also going to make sure that all of the adjacent cables have been dealt with. Now this screw hole up here is the fan, so we don't need to do that. There's going to be 3 screw holes. I'll just point them out real quick. We've got 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3 that are for the fan screws, so we don't need to do those now. But this one we do. Now we'll go over here. Ooh, not quite lining up on that one. All right, so the board is a little crooked. I'm assuming that one of these connectors needs to be shifted. Aha, I felt it move there. Okay. Get a little bit of pressure. And there we go. Plug that in. Plug in our display connector. No, not quite. Sometimes display connectors can be a little bit finicky, but not anywhere near as finicky as these little ZIF connectors. These things are really irritating. Okay, that's in. Lock that one down. So see the method that I'm doing here? Let me zoom in. Hopefully you guys can see this a little bit better here for the ZIF connector. Basically, it can be very hard to get the length in here. So what I like to do is pull it up, put my spudger underneath it so that we've got maximum length up here, and then you just bend it down with your finger and guide it into place. And lock it in. There you go. So that's a little pro tip there for getting those ZIF connectors in. So next up, all right, let's try this ZIF connector. This one's really tiny. So you can probably see that now that I'm zoomed in. Let me get that out of the way, get that out of the way. Now you can see it a little bit better. Oh, man. I know this is probably the most riveting thing you'll see all day. Oh man, these things, these will drive you insane. I guarantee they will drive you insane. These little ZIF connectors, man, they'll be the death of me one day. So, did anyone do anything fun this weekend? Anything besides... Oh, I got it! Oh, man. I hope that showed up on stream, because that was actually a really good little run there. And we'll lock down this tiny, tiny little flap. Yay! Easy peasy. All right. And now we've just got a few more connectors over here. But we've also got a few more screws. So let's do the screws first. And then where's the final one? I lost track of it. Is it this guy up here? I feel like it's not. I don't know, when in doubt, if you've got a leftover screw and you don't remember where it went, then usually just wait until you've put everything else that you do know where it went, and then if you've got an empty hole, you're like, all right, well, I guess that's where it goes. Super professional, I know, but, you know, it's fine. This whole repair is going to run us about 50 bucks. So it doesn't have to be super duper precise. And I believe that should be everything. I like to go around and just kind of pat all the connectors to make sure they're all in, and also to make sure that I've got my count correct. So the next thing that we're gonna do is reinstall the fans. There we are. Fans are now connected. Nice and easy. And then I believe there should be two. Yeah, I think two of these fan screws are actually a little bit shorter than the rest, by like a teeny tiny amount. And those are the two that go over here. So this should be one of them. Nope, that's not one of them. You can usually feel if you've got a screw that's too long, just because it will it'll tighten before it's actually in all the way, and then you'll be like, oh, I get it. There we go. That was the correct length screw for that hole. And now we've got, this should be the other one that's a little shorter. Yes, indeed. Another one over there. Very good. Okay, so then it is this one up here is the one screw that we're missing. All right, see that? If you don't know where it goes, put in the stuff that you do know, and then that'll narrow down your options. So my pile of screws is now reducing quite a bit. We do, however, have this little bracket, which you may recall, goes over here. That's a very, very small little bracket. But there we have it. And now all that's left to do, we are really on the home stretch here, folks. Now all we really have left is to put our needlessly fancily packaged RAM into this computer. And then we can reattach the lowercase assembly and boot this thing up. Now, we've been streaming for about an hour, which is significantly longer than it would take to do this repair without any commentary and without, you know, giving you guys some details. So you can see that this isn't a particularly time-intensive repair process. It's really quite doable. And if you don't feel comfortable doing this just based on memory or based on this video alone, you know, I always recommend iFixit repair guides. That's how I learned how to do all of this stuff. Even if you're doing a repair you already know how to do, it is always nice to just have that assistance next to you if you need it. So we are nearly done with this particular repair. Hopefully there were some things that you learned along the way, like the little history lesson on Apple's dual graphics system for this particular model. Hopefully you learned something about, I don't know, methodology that you might not see in a repair guide, like, you know, checking for trapped cables, the way to screw in heatsink screws, something like that. Hopefully you found that helpful. With the RAM attached, and we'll just do one more double check, because there's nothing more annoying than turning on a computer and realizing that you forgot the keyboard backlight, because I definitely have not done that, though. I will tell you that for sure. And now we can go ahead and put our back cover on. Hang on a second, just gotta make sure. Okay, there is a little bit of a groove here that lines up. There we are. This little bracket here has to hook into the mechanism that it uses. So you can see if I turn it around here, see how those screws move? Pretty cool. You gotta make sure to hook that in, otherwise it won't seat properly. So that's really all there is to that particular side of it. And now we've got our lowercase screws. Now another sort of a best practice thing that I would definitely recommend when you're doing a repair, if you're not super confident, if it's your first time, if you just want to test something out, don't screw in all of the bottom case screws. Just screw in enough to hold it on so that you can boot it up, make sure it works, and then you can close it up. Now, just for posterity's sake, I am going to screw in all of the screws just to further my embarrassment if in fact I missed something. Because that is, of course, the way that we do things here on this channel. Make it harder, not easier. That's why I disassembled the 2020 iMac twice instead of once to try out the Core i7-10700 non-K, just to see if it would work, and it did. Oop. Embarrassing. Is there something obstructing this screw hole or something? What the heck? This, the gap over here is too much. What is going on here? Why is this not... It needs to just move back a little bit. That's strange. What I just did there was loosen up the rest of the screws to allow me to better center everything over the screw holes. This screw hole is weird. It does not seem cooperative. There we go. Yay. All right. Embarrassment avoided. And now, home stretch here, folks. I already have the little brackets for the hard drive installed, so that simplifies things somewhat. We'll grab the securing bracket here. Screw that on down there so it's nice and stable. It's an SSD, it doesn't really matter. They're basically just flash drives in a piece of plastic with some mounting holes on it. So we can reinsert our battery here. We can try to. Something's not fitting right. I'm an idiot. I forgot to... yeah, forgot about that. Okay. With the battery reinserted, you can put this on. Look at that. We've got ourselves a unibody MacBook Pro here, folks. Why don't we, perhaps in the interest of furthering my embarrassment yet again, if I've in fact messed this up. And I actually, you know, come to think of it, I don't even know if this is gonna boot. I powered it on just to see that it would turn on and if the battery would hold a charge, but I don't actually know if this is a functional MacBook. I'm now realizing that was perhaps not the wisest omission ahead of a live stream, but we will perhaps boldly, perhaps stupidly would be a better word, clean this before booting it. I'm just going to zoom out all the way so that you guys can see more of the device. So it's in pretty good shape, honestly. I'm pretty happy with this. We've got a slight, ever so slight impression here in this back hinge. Let's see if I can position that so you can see it. You can kind of see how over here it's bent down ever so slightly. There's not even really a point of impact, so it might have been while the device was in a bag or something like that. But certainly nothing too major. What are these little specks? Might come back to those. Yeah, I mean, you can see we've got some pretty noticeable scratching on the bottom case. Actually, maybe you can't see that if due to stream compression, potentially. But that's all right. We'll just go ahead and assume that you guys can see that. So let's go ahead and clean on the inside. Now, I don't think this thing is particularly nasty in here. I mean, you can see we've dislodged a lot of the dust that was in it, trapped in the keyboard when we were disassembling things. So the screen is looking a little dusty, but it's actually pretty clean. No chips in the glass. No real problem areas here. That's good. It's always nice to not have a problem. Looking good there. So let's clean up the palm rest area. Trackpad feels very clicky, as you can hear. This is sort of the lazy way to clean a keyboard. If you put enough pressure, then you end up wiping not only the keycaps, but the aluminum in between them. Makes cleaning take a lot less time. Now we do have some small, these are either rubber impressions or they could be grooves in the aluminum. Hopefully they're not. And there we go, we got that one to go away. Perfect. Nothing really, no surprises with this build. I'm impressed. You know, whenever there's a surprise with a video, I can compensate for that because I have time to make adjustments and make new arrangements. But when I'm doing it live, I definitely prefer a seamless experience. And that is pretty much what you could say for this. This thing is looking pretty good. Let me know what you guys think in the chat here. Think we did a good job with this? I think it looks pretty good. The only really noticeable blemishes on this thing are underneath it here. This bottom case is a little scratched. Here, let me see if I can catch the light for you there. You can kind of see those scratches there. They're not showing up on camera as well as they are in person, but apart from that, this thing is pretty solid. Oh, look at that. Wait a minute. Battery is charged. Charged pretty much to full, so that's pretty good. I guess we can even try to boot this thing up without the charger. You guys ready? Let me there we go. Hopefully you can see a little bit. Might have to move some stuff out of the way so that you guys can see more of the screen. Camera's all the way zoomed out, so let's just boot it up. There it is. There's that chime. And we should get... Oh. Yeah, so here's the Catalina patcher going around its thing. That shouldn't be a problem. That's weird. It looks, I'm looking over here at my stream preview, and it looks like the screen is flickering, but it's actually not. That's picking up on camera, but it does not look any different than usual to my eye. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can move this up a little more. There we go. That seems like a better view. Oh, look at that. We went to the dark boot screen, so we should, yeah, there it is. We did it. Let me see if I remember what password I used on this machine. I didn't remember the password I made. And there it is. Our glorious, newly repaired 15-inch 2008 MacBook Pro patch updater. We are running Catalina. Oh, hang on a second. There it is. Catalina installed on a 12-year-old MacBook. 12 years old. How nuts is that? Let's go up to our system information here. Oh man, I'm trying to do this. Okay. This is very hard to see. I'm doing this upside down by looking at my stream preview. So, zoom that in so you guys can see it a little bit better. We got the 2.4 gigahertz Core 2 Duo, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and the 9400M, as well as the 9600M graphics. So this computer is actually looking pretty solid. Let's actually see. I'm gonna do a split screen here so you guys can see me. Hello! You haven't seen my face in a while, but I've been here. Let's just go ahead. Let's check out. Now I'm not gonna do this all on camera because I can't really operate this thing at that angle. But oh wow, the battery has 915 cycles. That's a lot. But the condition is normal, which is impressive. 915 cycles and in normal condition. So in fact, I'm gonna just sit here for a second and we will go ahead and download a battery health indicator. Why is iTunes starting? No, I mean music. Go away. I don't want you Apple Music. Get out of here. Force quit. Okay. Alrighty, so now we're gonna log in here. I think I accidentally just dismissed. Whoops, yeah, I did. I accidentally dismissed the verification code. All right, here we go. Okay, well, this is just not signing in. I just signed in, and then it says, no, not actually. Whatever. So I guess we don't really know the exact condition of the battery of this thing, but it seems to be holding a charge. It's not discharging ridiculously fast. So that's pretty good. If we go over here to graphics and displays, we do, yeah, 9600M GT has 256 megabytes of VRAM. Why don't we do, you guys want to do a Cinebench run? Let's do a Cinebench run. I'll go back to the full screen here. I'll set it up so you guys can actually see when it runs, but first I got to download it because this is basically a fresh copy of Catalina. So I'm not going to lick the MacBook. I'll just put that out there. I think we're going to not do that. So, Cinebench R20 for Mac OS. We'll download that. Shouldn't take too long. I love my gigabit Ethernet. Well, gigabit internet. It's about 500 to 700 megs in my studio here because I've got brick walls. And then, obviously, this MacBook doesn't have the newest Wi-Fi card. I think this is 802.11bg. Or it might be BGN as well. I think it is BGN. But it does not have AC, so it does not have the fastest internet in the world, but it should be doable. So, this is, I mean, you know, it's funny, people in the chat are asking about Apple Silicon when we are the furthest thing from Apple Silicon. Well, actually not really, but we're really in the good old days. This is one of the early, I mean, keep in mind, this computer was only 2 years into the Intel switch. This was back when dual core was really an achievement. Dual core of this era was probably like 6 cores today in terms of being like the goal, the solid option. And then some cheaper computers, not ones that Apple sold, of course, but some cheaper computers had single cores around this time. How many people do we have in Twitch right now? I apologize, I haven't been keeping up with the chat too much. I know we've got 1,300 on YouTube, which is very cool. All right, I'm verifying Cinebench. We will not have to wait too long. Let me rephrase that. We will not have to wait too long to run Cinebench. The Cinebench run itself, I believe, will take a good bit of time. So I'm just going to I had another MacBook set in front of me to monitor the stream. Okay, we've got Twitch open, or not Twitch, what am I talking about? Cinebench is open. So let me set up this shot here. I am going to plug it in for this just because, you know, it can't hurt. Okay, let's pull up a split screen here. So here it is. Everyone, this is your chance now. Put your guesses in the chat for how long you think this is going to take. Is it going to take 2 minutes? It's going to take 1 minute? Is it going to take 14 minutes? Place your bets in the chat. How long is it going to take? And while you do that, I'm going to whip out a timer. And we're going to put the stopwatch next to the computer. And we're going to start Cinebench at the same time. All right, so we've got a couple of people guessing. 35 minutes? I hope not. 15, 10:35, very specific. 4 minutes, 7 minutes. 10, 5.5. I'm going to guess. I suppose I should probably give a guess as well. Well, let's see here. So it's a Core 2 Duo. Now, granted, this might be cheating because I've dealt with a lot of old computers and I kind of have an idea. I'm going to say 745. That's my guess. 745. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Turn off that Mac OS update. Okay, I don't need you to tell me that I turned on automatic updates. All right, well, we're already at 17 seconds, and it hasn't actually started. So, that's comforting. Oh, it's starting. We're 27 seconds in, and it's now starting. So, oh. It's going to take a while. Okay. Oh, yay. Haha. There it goes. Don't you just love watching? Oh, no. That is really, really slow. Yikes. I think my guess may have been a little bit low. We're already at a minute. I think we might have to do 2 runs of this because this looks too slow. I've seen many Cinebench runs before, and this looks too slow. This looks like computer that hasn't been on for a couple of years slow. People are saying that's not right. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cancel this. I'm gonna cancel this run. We're gonna do this again because I don't even hear the fans ramping up. Let me check activity monitor here. Let's see what activity monitor has us at right now. Yeah, that's not right. It's only using like 40% of the CPU right now. I do want to stop that. So we're gonna start. We're gonna try again. We're gonna take 2. Take 2. Everyone in the chat is multiplying our guesses by 5. Yeah. Sometimes, you know, sometimes, oh, DOS Dude is here. How about that? DOS Dude, the creator of the patch that we have used, is here with us today. That's an excellent point. That does, in fact, happen a lot. If you use defective batteries or don't have a battery, it'll run slow. I don't think that our battery is defective. It is the original battery. I do know that for a fact when we opened it up. It is, in fact, the original battery, so it could be defective. It's showing as normal and it's holding a charge, but you never know. That's the type of thing that can happen with these computers. Also, sometimes they'll just decide to run slow for a while and not really tell you why. So let's try it again. 3, 2, 1. Let it begin. I feel like this is still going to run slow. But, you know, sometimes it just happens. You know, you just have to deal with it a little bit. That actually looks a little faster. See, we're only at 23 seconds now. Yeah, this is going to take a while. Someone saying the battery should be calibrated first. Yeah, that's probably it. I mean, you know, this is a fresh install. Who knows how long this computer's been sitting? So who knows? But I'm just gonna let this run. We're just gonna see what happens. So how's everyone doing? Did you guys enjoy the video? We've been live here for 1:24. If you're watching this on YouTube, then you're probably not super interested in this part because I'm talking to the chat, and we're basically just sitting here watching the slowest Cinebench run in all of history. Someone is pointing out that I need to lick the MacBook. I don't think I'm gonna do that. Really lick it while we wait? Yeah, no, I'm not gonna do that. Watching paint dry. Yeah, I mean, that's actually a pretty accurate assessment for this. I mean, we are now 1.5 minutes into this test, and we are on box number 7 of this render. Yikes. Anyway, I do suspect that the battery calibration is the issue. Sometimes, especially with older MacBooks, they tend to limit themselves on newer operating systems. Let's see, maybe if I unplug this, it'll go faster. Holy moly. Is it going faster, or is that just me? Chat, does this look faster? That's faster. Maybe it was just a light part of the render, but it looked like as soon as I unplugged the power, it got a lot faster. That's really funny. It's slowed down again though. That's interesting. So I think we do have a power delivery, a battery thing. Someone's saying battery settings. What if we? Okay, I'm gonna cancel this again because. I mean, you can already hear. You hear that? Plot twist, you don't hear that. We've been running a CPU stress test for 2 minutes and there's no fans. So, here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna do a couple of things. Number one, we're gonna go into our settings. We're gonna go to energy saver and we're gonna just make sure that we don't have anything. There is a setting here where you can choose between better battery life and higher performance. Obviously, I'm going to choose higher performance, but I have to log out to do that, so we'll log out, and then we'll log back in, and I'm also going to do a restart, just because, you know, it never hurts. We also had a patch. People are saying, oh, the fan's not connected somehow. They are connected, they're just not spinning up. So that is not the issue that we are facing. They're just running at idle. We're also going to, once I log back in here, do a quick restart because there was a patch update. I didn't see what it was. Higher performance. Go ahead and hit the restart here. And you know what? We're going to do a PRAM reset as well, because that's always a helpful thing to do. So that's going to be, what is it? Option Command PR is a PRAM reset. There we go. Someone's saying install Mac fan control. Yeah, I probably am going to do that. All right. The PRAM is reset, so it should bong in about 2 seconds. There you go. How about that? EFI shell version 1.10. Damn, look at that. Look at that go. I can't keep up. I was trying to read the patch thing. We might have to reset put the high performance setting back on, because I think when you reset the PRAM, it'll default all of the power settings. So I might have to do that. Let's check chat here. Actually, why am I showing you? I need to log in and load it up and all that stuff. So let's... Hopefully this battery, I mean, obviously we haven't been using it for enough to actually determine the health of this battery. Someone's saying bring out the eucalyptus oil. That is also probably something that would help us here. I mean, if you apply eucalyptus oil, it adds about 50% CPU performance. That's a fact. All right, I'm just going to once again... Let's see here. It might have reset. Yeah, I'll do higher performance. And you may have noticed I'm on the iPhone SE right now. We'll log back in here. I like this dual camera setup here. This is fun. We might have to do some more videos like this. Did you guys like this video? Was this fun? Did you guys enjoy watching a repair in real time? I thought it was pretty fun. All right, we are now logging back in. It looks like boop boop boop. Yeah, I think we should be good. All right, let's see if this has made a difference now, shall we? Let me just wait for Cinebench to launch, and I'll put my mouse over the thing so I don't have to do it upside down. So, by the way, in case anyone was wondering, it's a Core 2 Duo P8600. That's what we're running here. It's already getting quite warm here. These unibodies don't have the best cooling. It's kind of ironic that the Retina 2018 got the reputation for bad cooling, but these things are terrible. I mean, there's one vent. The intake and the exhaust are the same vent. It's a horrible cooling design. All right, 3, 2, 1, boom. This this doesn't look faster. It would have been more fun with eucalyptus oil. That's fair. That's fair. Well, it looks like it's not any faster. So, yeah. Well, you know, we tried our best. Sometimes these old computers are just weirdly slow. Doesn't really, sometimes it defies all explanation, you know? It doesn't always make a whole lot of sense. So someone in the chat earlier had said 35 minutes, and I'm starting to think that probably was not too far off. Now, DOS Dude here has brought up an interesting point. Big Sur Patch is probably not going to be doable on pre-2012 machines. I believe, wasn't that because of the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth cards, something like that? Or maybe it was the metal, I think it was a combination of that and also metal graphics. I know the 6000 series, if you have, like obviously this computer is working very well with Catalina. I mean, obviously the performance here of the CPU, for whatever reason, is not great, but Catalina is working pretty well. And I'm certainly not noticing any graphical glitches. It seems to be functioning quite nicely. But some of the newer graphics systems actually end up being worse in Catalina. So if you have a 2011 Mac, the AMD 5000 and 6000 series graphics from a 2010 and 2011 iMac, or from a 2011 15-inch MacBook Pro, those things really can't run Catalina because the graphical... The artifacting and the glitching is just unbearable. So unfortunately, if you do have one of those machines, you probably are going to want to stick with High Sierra, which is what they'll support natively. But, you know, it is what it is. We are here with a 12-year-old machine with Catalina, and it is in fact running Cinebench, but it is running quite slowly. Although I have to say, I think at this speed, this is probably not... you know, abnormally slow. I think this is near the point of basically just how slow this computer is by nature of it being old as heck. Someone pointed out 2009 MacBooks support up to El Capitan. That's for native macOS support, but you can run Catalina on the 2009s. The graphics are the same as this. Are the CPUs the same? I don't remember. I think they're very, very similar. Maybe just a slightly different clock. Man, I don't want to wait for this thing to run. In all honesty, why don't we just try something a little bit more fun and test out YouTube? We'll see if YouTube works on this computer. Because I'm still not getting... I'm sure that there's a simple fix for getting the CPU to actually start running, and it's not boosting up the fans either, but we're gonna just do a YouTube test, because quite frankly, if you're buying a computer like this, or if you're repairing a computer like this, you probably are not going to be editing 4K video on it. You probably want something that can, let's say for example, watch a stream from your favorite YouTuber. I wonder if we could find some sort of content that we could watch on this machine to test how it handles streaming. Oh, what's that? Huh. Looks like this guy is streaming right now. What a cool and awesome stream that we're just watching here. Huh, how about that? All right, we're gonna try to stream in 1080p here. Let's full screen it. Let's see how smooth it is. Is it going? Oh, I should move around. All right, here we go. We're moving around. Now I have to wait for the stream delay so I can see if it's showing up and if it's running smoothly. It looks like it's actually running pretty well. I'm impressed. Yeah, look at that. All right, it finally caught up. This is really showing you guys what the stream delay looks like, isn't it? This is streaming 1080p YouTube without any difficulties. All right, that's pretty impressive, I have to say. For a 12-year-old MacBook, 12. We are, oh wait, the timer's still running. Huh. We're running a 1080p stream right now with no issues whatsoever. Why don't we go try and play, let's see what other videos this great YouTuber has. Yeah, let's just watch this video here. Am I gonna get an ad? Wow, look at that. YouTube won't even give me ad revenue on my own video. That's so rude. Takes a little bit of time to go into full screen mode, but we are running a stream. Oh, there's an ad. We are running a stream in 1080p, or not a stream. We're watching a video in 1080p, and it's running fine. It is running totally fine. Yeah, I'm impressed. This is totally a media consumption device. You could easily use this thing for watching YouTube. The colors are actually pretty good. Obviously, on camera it showed up a little bit wonky, but it looks good. I honestly don't see any. This is a great little machine. Got a backlit keyboard. Battery holds a charge. Yeah, pretty nice. Now, to wrap this video up, I think we should go ahead and, why don't we open up a tab here and take a look at eBay and see how much it might cost if you were to actually buy one of these things. So I'll share my screen and we'll do a Chrome tab here. We'll do eBay. There we are. So why don't we'll just take a look and see how much it might cost if you wanted to buy one of these MacBook Pros. I'm gonna just try searching late 2008, quite frankly. I don't want bids. No one wants bids. See, I mean, look at this. 22 results. That's crazy. This is ridiculously what? No, what? eBay makes me mad, I'm telling you. This is just the 13-inch there. 195 is too much. $450? Are you serious? 8 gigabyte apostrophe S. It's a plural. It's not a possessive. I hate when people misuse apostrophes. 260. These are way too expensive. Holy moly. $350 for that. First of all, there is no late 2008 MacBook Pro. That's a MacBook. Look at the look, it literally says MacBook right on it. So that's false advertising. I mean, $425. What are these people smoking? Over $400. There's only 22 results. Now you'll notice if I change my search to mid 2009, which is a very, very similar spec, there's a lot more of these out here. Granted, a lot of these are 13-inch MacBook Pros. So there is that. But Interestingly enough, the 2009 version with 8 gigabytes of RAM is less than people were charging for 2008. I don't know. People are weird. But personally, the way I like to do a search here is just keep it simple, MacBook Pro. And then I like to just filter down here with these. I mean, not a Core 2. We'll just do a Core 2 Duo. Just do a screen size of 15-inch. Actually, I'm going to not do the Core 2 Duo. I'm just going to do, for 15s, it's really nice. You just go over here, find your graphics pane, and just set it to 9600M GT. Hit apply, and boom. You got yourself 2008 and 2009 MacBooks. It's that easy. In fact, I don't even need the 15-inch filter here. That actually broadened it up a little bit. So obviously, you know, you're not going to get every single result with this method, but you tend to get the better ones. So look at this already. I mean, 240, 290. These are already less than when we just searched for what we were looking for. But all of these, a 2009 17-inch for $500. My goodness. Pandemic pricing has not really gone down. These are all way too expensive. Let's see what happens if we, like, realistically, I would not pay more than $200 for one of these. 8 results. Okay, wait. Oh, GPU issue. This is, first of all, they've completely listed that incorrectly because this does not have the graphics card that we filtered for. Oh, see, that's a little bit better. It's parts only, though, which worries me. Let's check this one out. Hinges in lower left part of screen are damaged. Power's on. Booting is slow. That's probably because, I bet you this has a hard drive, doesn't it? Yeah, 160 gigabyte hard disk. That's why it's slow to boot up. How damaged is this? 2 gigs of RAM. Oh, wow. That is, ooh. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's a weird time to buy a MacBook. I mean, these are all terrible listings. These are all parts listings. These are 11 and 12-year-old computers. Why are there no functional versions? Oh my gosh. This is just terrible. I'm going to stop streaming because I'm depressed. Quite frankly, folks, that is just, it's demoralizing. I mean, this is not, apparently, according to eBay, this is a $400 laptop. That's ridiculous. All right, we've now been streaming for an hour 42. This is way longer than I had intended it to be, so I'm not going to take up much more of your guys' time here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and had some fun. Maybe you learned something, I don't know. Maybe it was educational, even, perhaps. But obviously, you guys, you'll be seeing me again very soon. We're shooting this on Sunday, 2 days before the Apple event, so you'll see me very soon. I'll have the YouTube event will be scheduled probably later this afternoon, so you'll know exactly when it's going to be. Twitch is going to be at the exact same time. So it's whatever time in your time zone the Apple event is, Noah and I are going to be live an hour beforehand. So I look forward to seeing, hopefully, all of you there. That will be fun. And yeah, thank you all for joining. I'll make sure that this goes public afterwards, so if you want to rewatch, it'll be available on the channel publicly. I'll probably make a thumbnail out of it at some point. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all on Tuesday. Have a good one.